Hi guys, welcome back to 100% Mags. So I hope you're all staying safe and well out there. And of course, Newcastle United going to this game tomorrow night against Sheffield Wednesday down at Hillsborough in the third round of the FA Cup. Of course, Newcastle hoping to progress through to the fourth round of the FA Cup. And of course, Eddie Howe has had his press conference today heading into this game, and he had some pretty positive things to talk about in the press conference as well. One of them being that we could possibly see Alexander Isak in the game tomorrow night, but it's still awaited on what happens in the training today if he will be available for that game tomorrow night. But of course, we're going to this game completely sold out support heading down to Hillsborough for this one. 4,500 Geordies travelling down to Sheffield to see Newcastle take on Sheffield Wednesday in this game. Anybody who can't attend the game, of course, can watch the game on BBC One, as it has been picked for telly for this game, so I can't wait to watch that. But of course, we're going to this one on the back of 15 games unbeaten, and hopefully, that will continue with another win in Newcastle's favour coming out of this game tomorrow night. But of course, we're going to this game against a side in Sheffield Wednesday, who, in their own right in League One, are of course doing absolutely fantastic themselves as well. Their manager Darren Moore has been doing fantastic stuff for Sheffield Wednesday. They're currently coming into this one on an unbeaten run, stretching to 17 games in all competitions. So they're doing absolutely fantastic. Of course, there's a whole division between Newcastle and Sheffield Wednesday, with the championship being right there between the two. And of course, somebody that will be looking forward to this game as well on the Sheffield Wednesday side, of course, is Michael Smith, a fellow Geordie. Of course, he wanted this game to be played at St James's Park, but instead it is at Hillsborough. And for him to get his wish, it would have to, of course, end level on 90 minutes tomorrow night for it, of course, to be picked for a replay at St James's Park. But saying that, I can't see that being the case. I can't see Newcastle, ending level on 90 minutes tomorrow night against Sheffield Wednesday. I can see we're coming away from this one with the win in the bag, progressing through into the fourth round. But of course, we did have an upset in this round of the FA Cup last season, of course, over 12 months ago now, exactly a year ago. That Cambridge United won 1-0 against Newcastle United in the game, of course, with Ironside scoring the goal for Cambridge United at St James's Park. I was actually in attendance for that game, and I've got to say, it was very disappointing and very upsetting to see Newcastle go out in the FA Cup third round to a League One side. But we are a different beast now to what we were 12 months ago. Just look at the way we've performed in this league. Just look at the stats of 15 games unbeaten in all competitions. We are a fantastic team. We're a team that plays on the front foot, but we've also got an amazing defence. Third best defence in the world, best defence in the Premier League. So obviously, if you look at them factors going into this game, we should be coming away winners in it, but we can't underestimate our opponents just because, they play in League One. Like Eddie Howe said in the press conference today, we need to be giving them credit. We need to be going into this one, knowing that they are a possible threat. At the end of the day, it is the FA Cup. The FA Cup can always bring up magic, results, and can always bring up shock results as well. And we don't want to be on the end of a shock result tomorrow night because we're underestimated. We're opponents. We need to be going into this one, with the right mindset to come away from the game with the win, but not with a mindset where we're going to it and underestimate our opponents from the get go. Of course, Eddie Howe also talked about in his press conference today as well Alex's fitness, of course, with him making his return from injury. Swedish international, of course, hasn't made an appearance since his game against Bournemouth back in September. Of course, it's St James's. And of course, if he is fit, then he will play in the game tomorrow night. I'm absolutely certain of that. That he will play in the game tomorrow night if he is fit. Whether he starts from the off or if he comes on as a substitute, still remains to be seen. But I do think Alex will play in the game against Sheffield Wednesday at Hillsborough tomorrow night. Paul Dummett, John Joe Shelby, and Mott Target, of course, are all on the injury list still. And as for Elliot Anderson, he is set to play some part in the game tomorrow night. And of course, Newcastle have confirmed now as well that Elliot Anderson will remain with Newcastle for the remainder of this season. In some capacity, he will get game time. He will not be loaned out. Eddie Howe has said that in his press conference today, of course, heading into this game, that Elliot Anderson will remain with Newcastle United and he will not be loaned out. And of course, as I say, we currently sit third in the Premier League. Obviously, that's got nothing to do with FA Cup, but we sit third in the Premier League. We've got an unbeaten run stretching of 15 games in all competitions. We're going up against a Darren Moore Sheffield Wednesday side who, of course, sits second in League One and come into this tie on an unbeaten run stretching 17 games in all competitions. The referee, of course, coming into the game will be Michael Salisbury. It is the second appearance this season for the Preston-based official, following our 0-0 Premier League home draw with Crystal Palace when, of course, he and VAR incorrectly ruled out a Newcastle goal. It was a perfectly good goal by Newcastle and it was ruled out in the game. Hopefully we don't see anything like that tomorrow night, but of course VAR isn't in attendance for this one. We're playing at Sheffield Wednesday's ground, and of course I don't believe VAR would be in attendance as well as with the League Cup. I think VAR's not in attendance until you get the finals. But Salisbury, of course, also presided over Newcastle's third round exit at the hands of Cambridge United last year as well. So, of course, he is the official that officiated over that game exactly 1 year ago at St James's Park. Hopefully, we see Newcastle come away from this one with the win in the bag in progressing through into the fourth round. Of course, as for the draw for the fourth round, if we get through past Sheffield Wednesday, then of course the winners of the tie will take their place in the fourth round draw, which will be conducted from 4 p.m. on Sunday ahead of the BBC coverage of the Manchester City versus Chelsea tie. So that is where you will be able to see, of course, whoever wins this game get their opponents for the fourth round of course, the FA Cup. And looking at the past FA Cup third round games, of course, like I say, last year was the Cambridge United 1-0 loss. Before that was a 2-0 loss in extra time against Arsenal. Of course, the season before that was a 1-1 draw with Rochdale, where we then ended up going on to win 4-1 against Rochdale at St James's Park. Then, of course, the season before that was a 1-1 draw at St James's Park, where, of course, I was in attendance again with my dad for this one. And, of course, Newcastle then ended up winning the replay at Ewood Park and progressing through. And then, of course, the season before that one, of course, was the 3-1 win at St James's Park. Again, another game that I attended as Newcastle took on Luton in that game and were progressed through into the next round. And looking at the past meetings of course, Newcastle down at Hillsborough, the most recent one, of course, back in 16-17 was a 2-1 loss. With, of course, John Joe Shelby scoring the only goal in the game for Newcastle. Of course, the game before that was the 14-15 season where we played them in a friendly with a Jose Perez scoring the only goal in the game to win the game for Newcastle. Then, of course, you have to go all the way back to the 09-10 season where Newcastle got a 2-2 draw against Sheffield Wednesday with Kevin Nolan and Amiobi scoring the goals in the game. And then, of course, all the way back from the 09-10 season to the 99-2000 season, where we've seen Newcastle come away from the game 2-0 winners with Shearer and Gallagher scoring the goals in the game. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below heading into this game. What's your score predictions going into this game as well? How do you think Eddie Howe will line up going into the game? Do you think he'll go with a strong lineup, or do you think he'll go with a mix between first teamers and reserve players? I think, to be honest, this game is going to be similar to the other games we've seen in the Cups this season, where Eddie Howe has went with a pretty strong side. I will expect to see Nick Pope in goal. If not, then we could be seeing Karius or Martin Dubravka in goal. I don't know if Martin Dubravka will play, however, in the fact that if he does, then that's another game that he has played for a different team this season. You can only play for two teams in one season, so if he was to play, then of course it would kind of hinder him moving on from Newcastle as well. So I think it will be Nick Pope in goal going into this game. I think we will see the likes of Kieran Trippier going into the game as well. I kind of think it will be now on first team, but a mix of some reserves in there as well. So I can't see him going complete reserves or youngsters. We do want to progress through. Eddie Howe has said that in the press conference, that he does want to focus on the Cups and the league as well, on all fronts. So, I think he will put out a side capable of getting the result on the night. And of course, we need to also think about that game coming up as well in the League Cup, because that is a big game for us. So we need to focus on that one as well, and also focus still on the league, because we are in third place. We cannot, turn our focus away to just one competition here. We need to focus at all of them, and that is what Eddie Howe is trying to do, to balance it between all the competitions that we are in, to give us the best chance of progressing forward with the club under the goals that, of course, the owners are going ahead with. They want Newcastle to be competing in Europe, and to do that, we need to be progressing on all fronts in everything that we are in. And I think tomorrow night is going to be a win for Newcastle United coming out of this game against Sheffield Wednesday. I'm going to go Newcastle 3-0 win in the game against Sheffield Wednesday. That's my score prediction. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And as always, remember to like, share, subscribe to 100% Mags. And I'll see you all next time. How are the lads?